One of the most powerful people that changed my narrative to come to Ghana is Laud Morgan.
Interesting.
I remember in March, this is March 2021, that was the first day I saw Laud Morgan, and I told myself, this guy has told me that yes, you need to go back home, through one of his videos that I watched.
I love it.
Laud Morgan changed my perspective big time about coming back home to Ghana. So I still wanted to go to America, and I told myself, even if I was sleep on the street, I would still go.
Really?
Yes, that bad, so bad. But this guy, he really did not like me, and I felt like he did not like black people. You could have rednecks like that. I've had some at the point where I've had a gun pointed to my head before. It is said or known, or we hear, that when you come to Ghana with a degree from outside, you get a better job. False. You're broke. You don't have money. Your baby, you would not love your baby even if you're broke. And your baby would not love you even though it's a baby if you're broke. Love is real, but love without money makes it hard. Because money will service love. That night when I woke up around 2 a.m., my spirit being my inner person spoke to me, said, find something else to do. Leave the degree. He did
the one you paid so much money
yes,
for.
the one I paid so much. I've never
sacrificed so much for.
And I've never worked with it. I did not know I was going to be an Uber driver, but I would not be where I am if I did not drive Uber. So deep within me, I was not happy. There were times that I parked my car. I remember one time I parked my car and I wept so bad because I was like,
you felt like a
is
failure.
this why I went to school, everything, to be an Uber driver? I was very sad.
Really?
Because I did not see myself driving Uber at any point in my life.
So, how much were 70? How much were you making after 3 months when you calculate?
I would be very honest. In my first year, I made $106,000 driving Uber.
Interesting.
Yes.
The first year.
But I drove for 17, 18 hours a day non-stop.
What?
Yes.
Is that even humanly possible? Interesting.
I can say that right now in my life, that is the best job that I ever did.
You had a stroke while driving Uber.
Yes, because
I
I
still had to go to work.
Yes, I had worked so much because now I was working so much, insane. 18 hours, 17 hours a day. Wake up at 3 a.m. By 3:30 I'm out. I come home at 9, 10 p.m. every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 5 years non-stop, not a single day off.
No day off.
No day off. The zeal and the
what was pushing you?
What was pushing me was I wanted to come home and do something. Because when I tell them, they will look down on me. And I don't mind getting my hands in the dirt, as long as it is not illegal, as long as I'm not going against the law and I'm not doing the wrong thing. And all I need to do is to put on my shoes, get into it, get in the dirt and make money, I will do it. When you depend on one source of income, you're a poor man. When you live paycheck to paycheck, you are poor. Because you have to have an extra source of income. So if I'm working in America driving Uber and something is working in Ghana or people are working here for me, that is a double source of income. When one fails, I fall on the other. So the goal was to build multiple streams of income so that when I fall here, I can rise on this stage. And one of the principles that I learned through that bus that I brought home was never to work with family.
Interesting.
Yes, I'd rather help family when they come to me, but not work with them. So one of the best places that any young man can start his dream is Africa. It might look very bleak and it might not sound reasonable because of so many things going on, but I'm telling you, there are people that are horribly struggling in America. When I drove Uber years and I went down like Southeast DC and places, people came to me asking for $1. So if America is the land of opportunities, Africa has endless opportunities.
Interesting.
When I was in America, gas price was $1.75. But now gas price is going to $4. So life is changing everywhere. If you lose hope here, you can lose hope in America. There is a lot of people in America that have lost hope. I would say that if I had a better opportunity, I would have moved back home earlier than I did. I wasted so much time. But the only reason was that building capital in this part of our world or getting capital to start something is always hard.
Hello guys, and welcome back again to another amazing episode. And this is the Diaspora Transition episode where we have dialogue with diasporans who are currently who transitioned from the diaspora from the US, UK, and currently living here on the continent here in Ghana. And today we do have here someone very special. His story is one of Ghanaians' diaspora story. A real Ghanaian who had the opportunity to travel to America, paradise, right, so-called, and lived in America and has been back, transitioned into Ghana back and doing amazing thing, real estate. But I'm here, to have a conversation, a very candid one, going back to the beginning of time when he had the opportunity to go to America, even living in America, how's it like, and why he left. If it's something you're interested and you want to find out why he did it, stay tuned. So without further ado, Morgan, welcome on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
I also really appreciate this one. I really appreciate it a lot.
I had the opportunity to sit down with you.
Right.
And you shared a bit of your story, and it touched my heart.
Right.
I felt like this is a typical Ghanaian story.
That's right.
Getting the opportunity to go abroad, the details of it, the hassle of it.
Right.
To a point where your health was in danger.
That's right.
Before we dive into that, people are watching you for the first time. They might not know who you are.
Right.
Briefly introduce yourself to the people watching you for the first time.
Well, I'm a very simple and I call myself a simple guy. First of all, that's what I try to let people know. But my name is Morgan, and I grew up in Ghana. Practically attended all my school in Ghana. Majority of my schooling in Ghana, right from JHS all the way. Back then it used to be JSS all the way through. Back then it used to be SSS, not SHS like they call it right now. All the way through college, where I finished University of Ghana, Legon, and then I had the opportunity to travel. Right when I was in University of Ghana, that's when I had my first encounter to be able to, experience to be able to travel outside to America. That was way back in, I think, 2007. 2007, right?
Okay.
And then I quite remember that when I got to America, I was in my second year back.
How did you get the opportunity?
So funny enough, this is how I got a chance to go to America. One day I was coming from my girlfriend's room. I was in the Sabah Hall, and I was coming from my girlfriend's room, and then I saw a poster, or let's say a flyer that was on the wall that said "Travel to America." Very simple flyer, but then I didn't know that was going to be my means to get to America. Black and white, how people make this flyer look so exclusive and so nice, and so this flyer said "Travel to America," and then it said "Travel to America /UK." Call, very simple. And then I picked the number and I called, and lo and behold, it was a gentleman that eventually became a brother and is still a brother. So he helped me. I didn't know much about traveling back then, but when you are in your second year in University of Ghana, you have the opportunity to be able to go for some letters from the administration, and then they will be able to help you
like
get
a bona fide letter,
sort of, to prove that you're a student and all of that. And then it tells them that you're in college. It speaks just a little bit. I cannot say it speaks a lot, but it speaks just a little bit, and it helps. It still gives you some leverage when you're in the embassy, because definitely they want to know if you're really doing something. And then so right there I was able to get a visa. I went for my interview. Lucky enough, I met a very good counselor then, and then I got a visa. And that was in 2007, I think, yes, if I may recall, 2007, 2008, pretty much. And so that gave me my first encounter to travel to America, where I thought I was going to, where I think and I thought, or what I thought and still think I was going to live the American dream. But then there's a cliche here. When I went to America, I always had the hope of coming to Ghana. It's always been in my heart that regardless of whatever, home is still home. America is my home because I'm an American right now, but the foundation is still the foundation, and I cannot go past my foundation, because my foundation made me who I am, and it is Ghana. So when I went there, I was given a 6 months visa to go. I had friends that would tell you, man, and it is true, if you come back to Ghana and you go back after college, the probability that you're going to have another visa might not be.
That's what your friends told you?
That's what my friends told me.
Okay.
And it is not because they told me. This is the reality. That sometimes if you get the opportunity to go and you don't stay to work your way out to stay, then you want to come back and be faithful. Like being faithful by coming back it might affect you. And it did affect me. As we go along, I'll share that with you.
Interesting.
But I told my friends that, you know what, I'm not going to defy the order. I'm going to go in within the few summer holidays and still come back. I had friends that did not buy into that idea. They stayed. But eventually I still had my way out and went, even though truthfully it affected me.
What was the narrative or even the rumors about getting opportunity to America like? What was people saying about America? This is you, young boy, you're in college. Right? And now you've gotten a visa.
Absolutely.
Even the process to the visa, how are people reacting to you? Because I know how you feel when you know one of our brothers are going to America.
Right.
Young key, you know, there's a whole hype around it. Let's speak on that a little bit and getting opportunity and touching down and your first experience touching down in the USA.
I mean, like I always say that we all dream or we all dreamt to go to America, in the sense that how would I put it? Let me put it in a very pragmatic way. In the sense that you watch people like, back then I was in college, a young guy. I'm watching people like Lil Wayne, like Eminem, listening to their songs.
Yep.
You know, and all you see is the skyscrapers, beautiful women. This is the concept, I call it perception engineering. This is how your perceptions are engineered to come along with what you see. So this is what we watch online. And so definitely you think America is paradise. Like once you step there, these are skyscrapers and these are beautiful women everywhere. And you have the perception that once you start moving, you're going to be picking money on the ground. You know, it makes you feel like America is the second heaven. Or the first heaven, because the first one we've not been to, so we call it the one we know. And so that is the perception that I had, because I had already engulfed my mind with a lot of videos, hip hop videos. I was a fan of people like Usher back then, like R. Kelly. You know, you like his music, and then you come a little bit into the hip hop with Lil Wayne, with 50 Cent popping up with, you know, all of the Candy Shop, all those songs you see, all these women, and they show a little bit of the skyscrapers, show the streets of America. We didn't know there was something else to it.
Interesting.
That's right.
Interesting. Now, you know, Ghanaians, when you got your visa, did you tell people you are traveling to America?
To be honest, there's another story when it comes to that. So the first time, that was when I was in college, in my second year. I didn't tell my friends. My parents knew, and my close relatives knew that but I did not tell my friends until I got the visa. That's when I told my friends.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I see. So you see this on TV, hip hop, 50 Cent.
Right.
When did you touch down in America? And what was your first impression, if you remember?
So right from the onset, I had an uncle who was in California. So the goal was to get to California. 3 days to getting into California, he called me that he's in the military, so he's been deployed.
Interesting.
And I had already stayed. I had a 6-month visa. School was about to resume. There's also a narrative, which I cannot say is true or not, that if you do not go when you get a visa the first time, it will be hard getting it again, because it looks like you did not pay respect to the opportunity that is given, because a lot of people want this opportunity, and you've been given this opportunity and you did not take advantage of it. Sort of quote unquote a little disrespectful, because you know. And so I had just few days to get, no, let's say few weeks to go. So then I called a friend, and a friend was like, you know, I know another friend in North Carolina that you can go and stay with. Lucky enough, it worked out, and I went there, and then I stayed. Going there in the plane, I quite remember I used Delta Airways. I just wanted to touch everything to feel like, so is this the plane? I am in an airplane. And back then we didn't have social media that much, and smartphones were not a thing like that in Ghana. I'm talking 2007, 2006, 7, 8. So I would have taken a lot of pictures, but then, you know, we didn't have that opportunity. So the first time to be in the plane, it was such an awesome experience. Going to the land of opportunities, the land where everybody is trying to go to, where the dream is going to happen, where the future is going to be met. It was an experience that I cannot really share. It's something that is inner.
So you saw the skyscrapers while the plane was going down?
Yes, when we were getting, so this is it. In my visa, there was an annotation that traveling with father to Alexandria, Virginia. So I touched down in Alexandria, Virginia first before I transitioned to what is it called, North Carolina. So yes, when I was landing, so we were landing in Dallas Airport, and there's also a story when it comes to Alexandria, because over the years, after so many years, I still found myself in Alexandria, but that was not my destination. So stop over in Dallas Airport and then onward to North Carolina.
How was it like when you touched down?
To be honest, it was a feeling that I don't know how. I've not been to heaven. I've not been to paradise. But I asked myself, is it true? I had one musician that was very popular back in the days. He was called Kwao Kese, and he was in the plane with me. So I had a chance to talk to him. So he started teaching me and telling me a little bit about America. So it gave me a broader picture, you know. So touching down, I saw, you would not see the skyscrapers right away, because Dallas Airport is all the way in Stafford area, Sterling area, which is quite far. If you wanted to see the skyscrapers, then you have to, in Virginia, especially Alexandria where I live, you have to come to Crystal City, and you talk about Washington DC, that area. Washington don't even have a lot of skyscrapers. Crystal City has a lot of, so it didn't have too much skyscraper, but you could see that when you are landing in Ghana, you see the road is brown, dirt. But you land in America and there's no brown road. Everything looks clean, nice, and the Jamaican will say clean, nice, cook and curry. It looked very clean, and I was like, wow. And you could tell how the waters looked blue, you know. It felt like, so is this the heaven they're talking about? Right.
Interesting. Now, you were going as a student.
Right.
Walk me through you having to become a student, having to be in class with multiple cultural international, right? Because these are American Caucasians that you are in school with, to graduate and finish your first, was it a degree?
Well, at that point when I went, the first time that I'm talking about, my first touchdown was when I was in my second year, so I did not go to school.
Okay.
I was in school here, but I did not go there to further my education.
Okay.
I only went for a summer vacation.
Okay. Okay, so speak to me about you having to leave. What was that experience like?
You mean my first leaving?
Yep.
Or the second one?
Yep.
Well, with my first leaving, like I said, it was such an awesome experience. It's something that I've dreamt of, you know. Mind you, if I'm going to recall, I had applied for a UK visa and I was refused.
Interesting.
Right. And so I applied for the US visa and I got it. So it aligned with what I really wanted, because I only tried the UK because I had family in UK. But US, the only person that I knew was the one that disappointed me right when I was about to go.
Interesting.
I later on found out that he had not traveled. He just didn't want to host me.
Interesting.
Yes.
And this
so
is your family member?
It's my dad's friend, sort of, who became family. You know how friends can grow to become family. So I later found out that he didn't want to host me.
Okay.
So I mean, that right there did not really push me back that much. I still wanted to go to America, and I told myself, even if I was sleep on the street, I would still go.
Really?
Yes. That bad. So bad.
You were that desperate?
I wouldn't call it desperation. I was trying to live my reality.
What you've heard about
because
America.
of what I've heard about America.
What you've seen on TV.
And I had already told myself I'm going to come back. So coming back does not make it desperate. Desperation is when I know that I'm not even returning at all. So it was living.
So
in my
that
reality.
6 months was exhausted. You came back to Ghana.
Yes. So the 6 months was not due, and then the man that was in California that I had to go to ended up calling my dad in Ghana, and he got the telephone number where I was staying, and then he called the home. So when he called the home, the people in the home were like, I thought you said you didn't know nobody in America. And I was like, yeah, I didn't know anybody, but he said someone just called you, that means you know. So they kicked me out.
Interesting.
Yes.
Wow.
They were like, you lied. And I said, I didn't lie. I don't know this man. My dad knows him. I'm supposed to come to this man, but he did not let me come in. So definitely I don't know him. Someone I've never met before. I call him uncle on the phone, but I don't know him in person.
Yes.
And then he didn't want to host me.
Right.
So he called and made it feel like I told a lie, because this is the person you say you're going to stay with. And this person doesn't
What did
show
you
up.
do when you got kicked out?
Well, when I got kicked out, actually my real name is Laud Asante. So when I got kicked out, there was about 5 homes, 5 houses down the lane that I knew this old man who I used to go help a little bit. Sometimes when I see him mowing his lawn, I go help. When I see him trying to, like, you know, so eventually he started doing a lot of things with me, like groceries and stuff like that. And so I went there, and then he was like, you don't need to go, it's your time up. I said no. He said, okay, so for that reason I'm going to host you. And then he was so kind to me. He showed me some extreme love and showed me certain things that I cannot do. He was a white guy. He was a white old man. And then he taught me a few things that have helped me today. And within that space, and my coming to Ghana, which I'm sure we're going to get into, I could tell. That's why I picked this name Morgan, and I added it to my name, and it became my middle name.
But you're also captain, but that story would count.
That story would.
So look, in Ghana, when you have the opportunity to go to America,
right,
we don't even expect you to come back.
Right.
But you came back after 6 months.
Not even after 6 months.
Before that,
I spent only 2 weeks in America.
How did your family and friends react when you came back?
Well, like I said, my friends were like, stop being dumb. This is a great opportunity that you want to take advantage of. I had phone calls and phone calls. But I still had a hope. I can say that maybe at that time I was young, so there was a girlfriend factor, which played a role that you don't want to leave it. You know that I had a girlfriend here, and at that point I felt like I wanted to be loyal. And I spoke with her before I left, and she was like, promise me you're coming back. That played a major role. Also, my dad also talked to me about the fact that don't overstay, so that when you go to the embassy the next time looking for a visa, they would approve you, because if you overstay and then you are caught and brought back, it will be hard for you to go.
You spoil your records.
So, and personally, my life has been such that I always want to be established or find myself in Ghana, regardless of the few opportunities and, you know, living what I call the Darwinism theory, survival of the fittest. I'm so attached to Ghana.
Interesting. Interesting. So at what point did you have to go back again, you know, to start? Because at one point you became a taxi driver in America. So at what point, 2007, you went, you came back, you know, not even 3-4 months later. What point did you have to go back, and what year was it?
So I finished college, did my national service, then I applied to go back again to further my education. When I did my national service I made some good money because I worked a lot. So then so after my national service, I decided to apply and go and further my education. But when I applied, then what my friends told me was true, because I was denied.
Interesting.
Then I started feeling stupid that my friends told me, if you go back and you try to come back to America, you'll be denied.
Interesting.
And I was trying to do the right thing, so I told myself I'll set an example for the few people that I know. We were just a few who had the opportunity to go to America. And then getting there, my friends were like, don't go back, work your way out. And I'm like, no, let me respect the rules. Go back home, find your feet, and apply again. But what my friends told me was true. I went and I was denied a visa. So
how did that make you feel?
Very bad. I told myself that sometimes people trying to be honest suffer a lot. Honest people suffer a lot, because I'm trying to be honest, not overstay my visa. So why would I go in 6 months, spend only 2 weeks, come back, everything shows, because I was stamped. I quite remember my I-94, I had to send it to the embassy personally because I forgot to submit.
2 years or 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Okay.
Out of my 6 months. Now I'm done with college. Now I want to go do my master's degree. I've applied for school. I got Webster University, St. Louis, Missouri, and then I had applied for my school. I had paid some of my tuition back then. I was really wanting to go and further my education. Why am I being refused now? So should I have stayed and did what my friends told me to do, or doing the right thing?
So you felt like you regretted not staying?
I mean, yes, at some point I'm going to be like, when I came home, I was like, man, I've been stupid. My friends told me. So I got in touch with a few friends. They were like, we told you it's hard to get a US visa. And you got it, got here, had opportunity to stay like we are doing, and you say you want to go back. There's nothing in Ghana like they always say.
Yeah.
I felt bad, but guess what? Because I don't give up, 2 weeks after I was refused, I reapplied again.
Interesting.
And then I got a different counselor who was very good. And then I talked to him, and then he asked me, do I know why I was refused the first time? And I told him, I don't know, but I want to tell him something. He said, go ahead. I said, listen, I set myself as an example so people will follow. But at this point, if a lot of people come to know my story, they'll be disappointed. That is when you have people going and not wanting to come back. But I chose to come back, and I'm paying for this. And right there, I think it touched him. He's like, well, at least you were honest, so I was going to give you the visa. And he gave me the visa.
I like that. You don't even know what you're about to get yourself into.
No.
You got it again. What year did you went back to this USA?
So this should be 2010, right after. No, so this should be 2011, late 2011, right after I had done.
So walk me through that painting of you touching down, going back in again. At this time, what were you doing? Was it school? How was school like?
Right.
And just walk me through. Just take it.
So I went to, I got my visa, touched down St. Louis, Missouri. I had heard St. Louis in Akon's song too, you know, and I was like, okay, the arch in St. Louis, the arc, everything. I touched down in St. Louis, Missouri, and I touched down with just my tuition. I did not have money to pay for the hostel. So this is my story, and this is where my story begins. When I touched down, no, before I left, now I didn't know anybody in America again. I have to go to school. This is why I'm going, and it's in my visa that it's an annotation that going to Webster University. Okay, so St. Louis, Missouri, here I come, I touch down. But before I left, I didn't know anybody in St. Louis, Missouri. How am I gonna live? So my dad had to make few phone calls, and he found out that one of his employees years back lives in a town called Jefferson City, Missouri. So then he got in touch with this person, and then he called me and he's like, I know a guy that lives in St. Louis, but I might have to talk to him first. But regardless, whatever he says, I'm gonna tell him you're gonna stay for a few days. This guy agreed. He said, I'm gonna make you stay, because I got there on a Friday night. He said, you start in school on Monday. I'm gonna make you stay only for 3 days. I don't have no money. The only thing that I have is my tuition. Ready to pay, because I didn't have no bank account.
How much was the tuition?
Back then the tuition was $24,000, but I had about a part payment of the tuition, which they will allow you. And then because I could not take $10,000 and above outside the country, I took $9,900. Right, I wanted to stay. I'm trying to be, you know, legit,
do the
right thing, you know. So when the goal was that once I get there, there will be bank transfers to pay the tuition, which is easy. But going, I have to take something. So I got there. So when I got to New York, I heard a Ghanaian guy. I overheard a Ghanaian guy talking on the phone, and he was speaking Twi. So I got close to him. Remember, I didn't have a cell phone, so I'd written the person that I'm going to, my host. I had written his number on a paper. So when I got there, and I told the guy that, hey, can you dial this number for me? And when he dialed it, he was also going to visit, because that guy was his friend.
Interesting. What a coincidence.
Very big coincidence. So when he dialed the number, he said, are you going to go see Vernon? I said, yes. I don't know him. I've not met him or seen him in person, but he's the one that I'm going to live with. He said, when I touch down, I live in Jefferson City, Missouri, but when I touch down, now the Jefferson also connected to the man that connected me to this guy that I'm going to in St. Louis.
That was let you stay for 3 days.
That would let me stay for 3 days. And this guy that is giving me the cell phone to call also lived in Jefferson City.
Interesting.
So once he called, and then he was like, I'm already going there to eat fufu before I travel 2 hours to Jeff City. So then once he called Vernon, he's like, hey, I have a guy here who says, well, I talked to him, he's like, yeah, I'm expecting this guy, so then I don't need to drive to the airport, bring him along. Boom, and then we got to St. Louis. I had a very light jacket. I got to America late December, so it was super cold. Yes, winter. So I didn't even have a jacket. I had, what would I call it, a jacket?
Like a hoodies?
It wasn't even a hoodie. It was like a jersey, you know these long jerseys, I don't know how they call it. And then felt like once I got out of the airport, I went back in. I'm like, what is this? Because remember, my first time was in summer, but then I got out, and then I came right back in. And the guy was like, you better hurry, we're about to leave. This is America.
Interesting.
So he drove me, went to Vernon's house, very good friend, God bless him wherever he is. I mean, he hosted me the 3 days, he said. So the Sunday night, I remember when I touched down, that first night when I woke up, I had blood oozing from my nose, because the cold was something I had never experienced. So it struck me so hard, because St. Louis can be super cold. It's in the Midwest, close to Chicago and stuff like that. So it was super cold. So it struck me. I woke up with blood. I still have that picture on my phone. With blood oozing out of my nose. I think it was so cold that my nose could froze, you know. And so Saturday, Sunday, he calls me. He's like, bro, this was the agreement. 3 days. Because he's not a bad man. Remember, he had someone that was staying there, but the person had gone for the weekend. And this person was renting his room. So he cannot let me stay there. So he's sort of hiding me, is, you know, to give me someone. So he's like, okay, what are you going to do right now? Because you don't even know your school. Your school's about 40 minutes away from here. You don't know nobody. I said, okay. I said a prayer before I came. I believe in my God. Let's try this. He said, okay, I'll take you to the school. Whatever happens, call me. As he said, okay, Monday, I'm not going to let you go. But I'll let you go on Tuesday so you find your way. Because my roommate is coming and he's rented this place. You know, I can't give it to you like that. I said, okay. Monday, he took me to school. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know who I was going to. I was like, after this place, where am I going to sleep? This was my burden. What am I going to do? But I said, let me keep going. He dropped me right in Webster University. So when he dropped me, I went to the international students department, and then they said, oh, you got to go here and start doing your checks and everything. I got to the school at 9 o'clock. One lady is like, let me walk you down there since you're a fresher and stuff like that. So, okay. Whilst the lady was walking me down there, I overheard another person speaking on the phone. Hey, say. And I told the lady, hold on 1 second. So I was like, I overspoke because I like, hey, Bema, you know, at the same time. So he was on the phone. He's like, he told the person on the phone, can I call you back? He said, I mean, we're Ghanaians. We were like only 4 Ghanaians in that school. So once he saw me at that time, so once he saw me, he was like, "Hey, we are done with house." He's like, "Let the woman go. I'm gonna help you." He's already been there for like a year, and so he takes me through the process. After registration, I was like, "Bro, I have 1 day where I'm living, just 1 day. This is my story." I broke it down for him. He's like, "You know what? I've always been wanting a roommate. Tonight, you're staying with me."
Interesting.
And right there, Emmanuel, I called my friend. I was like, when you pick me up, I have a story. The 3 days is up. He gave me 1 extra day, 4 days. I'm going to. He said, who are you going to live with? I said, this is the story. I met a Ghanaian guy who also wanted a roommate. And then boom. He said, wow, let me go check. I'm going to drop you, but you're still a brother. Let me go make sure that you are safe. Took all my stuff. A guy welcomed me. He's like, you're living with me now. So within 3 days, God showed up and I met someone and had somewhere to stay.
Yeah, that's amazing. So that's when you started your university.
Yes.
How was it like? Was it like being only 4 black people in the school? You know, America is known for inequality.
Right, it is.
How was that like for you?
I mean, point of correction, it wasn't only 4 black people. There was a lot of black people.
But they were not
4 Ghanaian. Ghanaian. There were a few Africans, but I had not met them. But I'm saying that the Ghanaian community that was introduced to me were only 4 people. Yes. So at that point, it was only 4. Okay. About 4 or 5. Okay. So we're not many. And some were there for their undergrad. And he, at that time, was the only person that was there for his master's degree. So it matched my level, sort of.
Interesting. How was that experience like in university?
I would say that it was an eye-opener. The way the teaching goes is different. Over here in Ghana, in University of Ghana, where I did 4 years of college school or college to get my college degree, the professors come there and they lecture you. In America, they engage you. You know, let's say a class like political science, we have over 600, 700 students to one professor or one lecturer. He's not going to be able to engage you. Talk of where I went to school, St. Webster University, about 8 or 10 people in the class doing a master's degree, so they can engage you. And that really, I felt like that really built you in a different way, because sometimes you might pick up the whole class with a research and you have to do. So it was totally different experience.
Interesting.
Absolutely different.
So what made you that? How did you even sustain yourself? Obviously you had the deposit, you paid that deposit.
Yes.
Were you able to, how did the whole thing work? You know, paint me that picture for me real quick.
So the guy that I stayed with was also a blessing, and he was like, you know what? It is possible to work whilst you're in school, but now you can only work 20 hours. But I know a certain Ghanaian man who sort of takes care of all these Ghanaian students here. He's like a dad to all of us. He also attended Webster University about 30 years ago.
Interesting.
So let me go talk to him, and I have to show you to him so that he's like a dad to all of us. When you get in trouble or you need help, that is beyond me. He's the one we all go to. So apparently I met this man, and then this man is like, yeah, you need to find a job, but you cannot work more than 20 hours, and you cannot work outside of your outside of your school. You got to work 20 hours in your school.
In your school.
You cannot work outside your school.
Okay, interesting.
It's against the law. So we need to find you something. So he went, spoke to a few people. They said, you got to come for an interview. Guess what? I was working I was mowing lawns and stuff, like working the gardens, still in the gardens and stuff like that. And even with that, I had to go for an interview to show my experience.
What did they ask you?
Because a lot of students also wanted to mow the lawns. They wanted to work the lawns, help water the gardens. So you got to show that you've done it. And guess what? I've never done it, but I had to gather some confidence and be like, you know what? I mean, I cannot say I've not done it because, years back, I was helping this man mowing his lawn. So
back in Ghana?
No, back when I went in America. I went to America. Right. So maybe I say I have some experience.
Right. Yeah.
With this one loan, they wanted a student, but the student that has about 2 years experience. So the Chinese man called it a guanzhen, and guanzhen means connection, because this man knew that I would do it and I can do it, but maybe because I'm so new and fresh in America, I may not even know my way out. He talked to them, they did interviews, and then they hired me. Call it whatever, but then it's still a connection, And then I was hired to be a lawnmower.
Interesting. So you did that throughout your whole school?
No.
Okay.
So I did that. After a couple of months, I got fired.
Why?
Being a lawnmower. There was something, when I was doing my national service in Ghana, the truth of the matter is that when you're doing your national service, in Ghana, when people work, they can use their phones. In America, you cannot use your phone and work. It depends on your job, but most jobs, you cannot use your phone and work.
Interesting.
I did not have this culture imprinted in my mind. I was still used to using my phone while I was working. So first time I was warned that you cannot use your phone. Leave it somewhere or leave it at home, because it was a walking distance, and come to work. But my girlfriend kept texting me. And she kept, checking up on me. She was scared that you might find a new girlfriend. You were so naive, and you were like, oh my God, I'm staying with you for life, And then texting my girlfriend back and forth. And then once in a while, you had your dad call you. You did not want to miss these calls because it's so expensive. We didn't have WhatsApp back then. What we had was called Imo. Maybe some call it IMO, and Viber back then. And internet was so expensive back then. I could not afford it, so I did not want to miss certain phone calls. So I got warned the first time, I got warned the second time. I thought I was smart because I thought maybe I'm watching. You're not watching. So the third time, there was this guy. He really did not like me, and I felt like he did not like black people. You could have rednecks like that. I've had some at the point where I've had a gun pointed to my head before. Yes.
Really?
Yes. So, and that was after the years. So he did not like me being paired with him to work. He did not like it because he kept complaining. And there were times when my skin touched him. We were sitting in what we call a gator. A gator is like, they have, I don't know how to explain a gator, but it's like what these golf cart people use that they drive. This is a gator that we were driving. So I have to sit by him. In Ghana, we'll say I'm the mate. He's the driver. So I had to sit by him. But when my skin touched him a little bit, he'd be like, man, stop touching me. I don't want you touching me like that. I said, no, maybe the way you drove the gator made me shift a little bit. So he did not want my skin touching his skin.
Interesting.
So definitely, even though I was in the wrong, he was still looking out to make sure he finds an error, so he stands on it. And he did find one out of me being naive, being on my phone, and it was no excuse because I was warned the first time, I was warned the second time. I still miss my family back home. I miss my girlfriend. I started putting on a scale of preference. I needed a job, but family first, and I lost that job.
You got fired.
I got
fired.
fired.
Is it the same girl who made you come back to Ghana?
No.
Different girl.
As time goes on, we mature, and then we see life in a different.
Now, speak to me. You were done with university. What did you learn from that? When did the American life itself begin for you? The stories we've heard our uncles say, the hustles and bustle. When did that story begin for you in America?
So, as time went on, I found a job. My job helped me in all my documentation and everything. So, I would say that the American hustle started right before I finished my master's degree.
Interesting.
Guess what? The next job that I got was an outdoor solution job, mowing lawns.
Again.
After
you have a master's degree?
No, almost completing a master's.
Almost.
Yes. And so,
but you had a bachelor degree from Ghana.
It don't make no sense.
And you both know in America.
It don't even help. It doesn't even apply. It don't make too much sense when you take it there. American education, like I see, has a certain standard. I don't know, but I feel like maybe they think maybe the Ghanaian standard might be a little bit low. I might be wrong. I stand for correction, but that's how it is. So it is better you gain an American, degree to top up to make you up to par with everything.
So you get in a job, they help you with the documentation.
I mean, my job, not that job. Eventually, I got another job that helped me with all of that process.
Good. So you were done with the masters?
Yes, I was done with the masters at that time.
Paint a picture from that point.
So after I got done with the masters, I found this job. I remember that my friend told me that, listen, this job is such that when you come in your hard working, they can help you. I said, I don't want to go back. I went back and I was refused. I was told not to go and I went. My visa has not expired. I had 4 years. I had only spent a year and a half. Less a year and a half or 2 more years will be up and then your visa expires and you got to go back. I'm almost done with my master's. I can do these few classes online. What do I do? He said, come to Massachusetts. There's a little town in Massachusetts called Fitchburg, Massachusetts. And I said, okay. My brother had come from Texas to visit me and left me with his car. It was called a Dodge Stratus. A very small car. And he's like, come here if you can. I said, I don't have money to fly. He said, I'll send you money. You have to drive. I drove 17 hours from St. Louis, Missouri, all the way to Fitchburg, Massachusetts. Went through Ohio, went through Pennsylvania, right through everywhere, through New York, through Connecticut, all the way until I landed in Massachusetts.
Interesting. That's where everything began.
I mean, life still went on. But yes, life did begin, let me say, in St. Louis. And then I got there, started this job. Everything went as it was. I got my document and I realized that, you know what, the time to serve is over. Now let me work something with my degree. But I had a lot of challenges because of my accent back then.
What were some of the challenges you had?
When you apply I did a master's in international relations. When I applied for jobs, the hope was to get into New York or Washington, D.C. When I apply for jobs, when they call you, first of all, your name gives you out, Asante. So definitely they know you are not American. 2, when you get a chance to have what we call a phone screen, your accent gives you away. I'm not saying this is the narrative, but personally, it really hindered a lot. It did not give me the opportunity to get hired.
Interesting.
Yes.
How did you maneuver your way through that?
So down the line, you have to start speaking like an American. One time that hit me so much. My car broke down and I went to the shop. And I didn't go to the shop. I walked to the shop to get a mechanic. So in America, in Ghana, we call it fita. And we also call it mechanic. So I went there and I was talking to this guy who was a mechanic. But I could not say mechanic. I said mechanic. I need a mechanic. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. At that point, that is when it started hitting me that you don't want to talk like an American. But then if you want to be heard, you have to speak a few things, because sometimes they'll be like, say it again. It's not because they want to be like that. It's because maybe your accent might be too deep. You might not be really heard. So I stood there and I said, I need help with a mechanic. I said, I need help. This is how it went. I need help with a mechanic. It's like, you need a what? I said, I need a mechanic. My car has broken down on the street and I need a mechanic to help. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. It took a long time and I called a friend who had a little American accent, and back then I spoke to him and she like, hey, you know what? I can't say what I say. So let me talk to the guy. And then on the speaker, I heard him say, bro, all he needs is a mechanic. It's like, oh, bro, all he needs is a mechanic. He be saying some words I don't even know. I was like, so I came home, my brother is like, if you go stay there, say mechanic, and you start saying McDonald's. When they say McDonald's, say McDonald's, bro, you're out of the game. Yeah. I was like, okay. So I started learning a few things from there, you don't change your accent. They can still understand you, but a few words might be hard for them to,
Interesting.
That's right.
Interesting. Now, you told me, look, you have a master's, but you ended up becoming a taxi driver.
Right. That was years down the line.
Okay, yes. Walk me through from that point,
So years down the line, fast forward.
Yeah. No, not fast forward. Let's move to that point.
Absolutely. So, let's say I started working different jobs.
Yeah.
Trying to find my feet. I found out. I realized that Massachusetts was just a small place. I mean, Fitchburg, Massachusetts was a small town, about 30 minutes from Worcester, Massachusetts. It was a very small town. Not too many opportunities. Let me go try my hands with my masters. So I did a few menial jobs, still waiting to get interviews here and there. It's not coming forth. So I said, okay, you know what? I'll do what I want to do. And I did one job and I had a supervisor, and I eventually became a quality control officer, which you might think is a big position, but I was only making $15 an hour. The name's big. You've only been moved from the floor. When we say the floor, we mean the factory floor. You're not working the machines. Now you've only been given a helmet and maybe some protective gears, and you're just checking the people. So you're still on the floor with the people, but a little bit up. So they make 14, you make 15. That's right.
Just
so
one up.
Just one up, maybe 15, 50, 15, 20, and right there. So on that job, I had worked it for some years. On that job, the man was like, well, anytime I talk to him, he said, I sense so much wisdom in you. Why don't your master's in international relations, don't be working these jobs. I know you are happy because of the money, and you've been here for some time, but not too long. So you're happy because when you bring the dollars home, it's a lot. Anytime I make $10, I quickly changing it and equating it to the Ghanaian cedi, and I'm like, that's so much money. So you would not see that you have to. In my view, I was not seeing that I had to step up my game. So one time the man was going on retirement, and he was like, look for jobs in this area, because the longer you don't use your degree to work, the more it begins to fade away. At that point, I came to a realization, and that is when I moved to Washington, D.C., where I started driving Uber, and I was looking for a job in international relations.
How did that go?
Awful.
What happened?
Awful. I applied for many jobs, maybe 400, maybe sometimes I got to a point I went out of state.
To apply for jobs?
No, applied out of state.
Okay.
I'm in Washington, D.C., but when I see that the job is in Florida, I'll pick it.
You take a flight?
No, I would not take a flight. I'll apply for it.
You apply for it?
Yes.
Over 400 jobs?
I applied for over 400 jobs.
And you had a bachelor
I had a bachelor's in political science and sociology. I had a master's in international relations. I'd also finished the computer course, so I had certification from Ghana in a few things.
And
like
you applied for 400 jobs,
yes.
And you didn't get it in America?
Yes, that is where I thank God I did not get the jobs when I applied for it.
Why?
So that is my blessing. That was my blessing in disguise.
How?
So when I moved to Washington, D.C., I was living in Alexandria, Virginia. We call it the DMV. So I may use Washington as a bigger picture, but I was living in Alexandria, Virginia. It is D.C., Maryland, Virginia, tri-state. DMV. And the bigger state is definitely Washington, D.C. So I was living in Alexandria, Virginia, and applying for the jobs. I was home. I brought some little money with me because, I had worked, and I was like, you know what? Let me try and now before I moved to Washington, I came home. At that point when the man spoke to me, let me not forget this, I came to Ghana, and I was like, if this man says I should look out for good opportunities, what am I going to do with my master's degree? Let me come back home and try and find a job, because it is said or known or we hear that when you come to Ghana with a degree from outside, you get a better job. False.
Really? That's not true?
That's not true. I came home, applied for every job that I thought matched my qualification. At that point, I was online. I applied for 612 jobs.
In Ghana?
Yes, in Ghana.
After applying 400 in America?
No, before. So I'm taking the story back again.
Okay.
And so I applied for 612 jobs. It's still in my diary. I went online. They had Jobberman Ghana, Job Web. I just go there and threw my resume everywhere. None of them, not a single one. At that time, I started thinking twice. I had gotten married. I came to stay in Ghana for like a year and a half, 2 years, and then I had my baby, and then life started meeting me face to face. You're broke. You don't have money. Your baby, you would not love your baby even if you're broke. And your baby would not love you even though it's a baby if you're broke. Love is real, but love without money makes it hard. Because money will service love. Who doesn't want luxury? Curse be on poverty. No money, nobody wants poverty. But love is real. You can get genuine love, but a little touch of money in love makes it true love.
Interesting.
So then I sat her down and I was like, you know, this baby doesn't have to suffer. I'm going back to America.
I see.
Like, for what? After 5 miscarriages?
Really?
And then you have a 3-month-old baby, 4-month-old baby. I said, you know what? I have to make this happen. Because if I stay here, I've tried everything. It's not working. I've gone. The last job that hit me so hard that I said I'm not going to do. Now I applied for a job. They told me to come for an interview. They said, you want to be a debt collector? I said, I don't want to be a debt collector. I have a master's in international relations. Listen. He said, well, you've lived in America. This is Ghana. Masa, you're steady. Start with this and you grow. And I said, how much are you starting me with? And they were starting me with, I think, $12. That is 120. That back then, no, it was 1,200 Ghana cedis, making like $100 a month. I said, no way. Working factories, I used to make more.
Paying 20. How much was your fees?
24,000.
24,000.
Yes.
You're going to work in Ghana for what? $100 a month.
$100. And I said, no. This is Ghana. I belong here, but it's not at this time. I got to go back. I'm looking at this child and I'm like, I got to go. Boom. Took my flight. Went back to America. That is when I went straight to Washington, D.C. Was staying with a friend, very good friend, very good friend, my brother. And then he's like, what? Start applying. I started applying for this job. He was in the military, so he was staying there. And then he said, start applying for the jobs. Put in 400 and over jobs. Stayed home. All I was getting was phone screen. 1 or 2 of them will call you to come for a second, face to face. Man, this was kicking me. So one night around 2 a.m., I woke up and I was like, how do I do this? Because I'm here, I've been home for like 3 months. I'm not getting a job. What do I do? That is when my life changed. That night when I woke up around 2 a.m., my spirit being my inner person spoke to me, said, find something else to do. Leave the degree. He did
the one you paid so much money
for.
for.
The one I paid so much. I've
sacrificed so much for.
And I've never worked with it.
Interesting.
Yes. So I went to school to just get qualification, but it never helped me become who I am.
Interesting. So your inner self told you?
My inner self told me. 2:15 a.m. I woke up around 2 o'clock, sat on my bed, and I was like, I'm not getting money to send home for this little boy. What are you doing? Then go back home and start the $100 job. Confused as I am. But I was okay because my friend was so good, always encouraging me. But guess what? 2:15 a.m. I had a little clock, a mini clock by me so I could tell the time. Still flashing in my eyes right now. And my inner self told me, leave the degree alone. I was like, this don't make no sense. How do I leave this degree? Because if you want to work international relations, we are talking Washington D.C. and New York, and you are in Alexandria. You are in Washington.
Right in the middle.
Because I was 7 minutes from Washington D.C. I was literally 9 minutes from the White House. I was living in a town called Del Rey, which is 2 minutes from Crystal City, 5 minutes from Reagan Airport, 6 minutes from the Pentagon, and we're talking about 10 minutes from the White House. I'm in Washington D.C. This is where America's capital.
You are so close.
Man. And you have a master's in international relations where all the international organizations have their headquarters. What are you saying? But it didn't work for me.
Interesting.
So I applied for the job. I kept applying. One night I told myself, you know what? Why don't I start driving Uber?
It just came to your head.
It just came to my mind. Because I had my roommate, he's in the army, he's in the military, so when he gets off work he drives Uber. I said, why don't I drive Uber? I said, okay. I told my friend, he's like, okay, so what we're gonna do is the little savings you have. I called another friend, a very good brother who lived in Maryland back then. I was like, bro, what are we gonna do? He said, you can come and get a car, not his car, but you can look for a car. So when you find one, let me know. I had $2,000 back then. I found a car and it was $4,000. I called him. He's like, I'm gonna give you this $2,000 to top up, but make sure you pay me because I'm going to Ghana in December and this is my money that I'm going to spend in Ghana. We topped up. I had a very small car. It was a Nissan Versa very small car. I drove it all the way from Gaithersburg, Maryland, all the way to Alexandria, Virginia. This is when the reality started.
Interesting. Master's degree.
The master's degree.
400 jobs.
400 jobs.
Rejected.
600 jobs
600 in Ghana.
1,000 job application.
So it dawned on you have to become an Uber driver.
I did not know I was going to be an Uber driver, but I would not be where I am if I did not drive Uber.
Interesting. Talk to me about how it started.
So it all started so the first day I started driving. After I drove like a week, 2 weeks, I was like, man, this looks like good money. But then let me still keep applying because this is not why I came here. So we're using the Uber, like we say, to quench the pain so we can have some money to foot the bills. Your friend is sponsoring you. How long can he sponsor you? You're a man. You got to take care of people. How long can your friend sponsor you? So I said, okay. So now the Uber is servicing some bills, which is okay. But within me, I was not happy because how can a degree holder, a 4-year college student, and a master's degree, and has worked some few jobs, still be driving Uber? And deep within me, I was driving Uber. We have another app. You know, in Ghana, we call it Bolt, Yango.
Yeah.
And back then, Uber, it was Uber and Lyft.
Lyft, yep.
So deep within me, I was not happy. There were times that I parked my car. I remember one time, I parked my car and I wept so bad. Because I was like,
you felt like a
is
failure.
this why I went to school, everything, to be an Uber driver? I was very sad.
Really?
Because I did not see myself driving Uber at any point in my life.
When you tell your parents that you were driving Uber?
No.
When you tell your
No,
parents?
nobody knows. I would say the one that needs to know knows. But my family, my parents, up to date until they hear this interview, they would not know that I ever drove Uber.
Interesting.
Yes, I am that secretive.
So you cried?
I cried.
In the middle of
all my family members will hear today and they will hear the real story. It is exclusive. I'm disclosing this on your platform. So I became an Uber driver. And then 3 months down driving Uber, I put my sales together. I looked online and I was like, a master's degree holder is with international relations, working at a place like the Capital, working at non-profit, is making $56,000, $60,000
a year.
A year. 3 months, and I did the math and I put my things together, and I said I could make so much money driving Uber. Why? Again, my inner man spoke to me 3 months after I had driven Uber that save and go back home. And I was like, wow. So it started hitting me every time I was driving. 3 months. It was like, save Uber and go back home.
What year was this?
This should be year 2018. 18 thereabout. Said, save and go back home. Remember, I've always been someone who wants to come back home. At that point, it was not girlfriend. Let's make it right. It wasn't girlfriend issue, but I love my country so much. I have certain factors that I go by. 1, the God factor. 2, the hard-working factor. 3, the Ghanaian factor, which is the foundation. And 4, American factor. So these have been my foundations and the pillars for which I am who I am today.
Interesting. So how much were 70? How much were you making after 3 months when you calculated?
I was making some good money. I knew that when I put all of that together in a year, I could make more money.
Interesting.
And I would be very honest, in my first year I made $106,000 driving Uber.
Interesting.
Yes.
The first year.
But I drove for 17-18 hours a day non-stop.
What?
Yes.
Is that even humanly possible?
Now I think you can only drive 12 hours. I think even back then you could drive only 12 hours, but the secret is I switched between Lyft. I had 2 phones. So when I get a trip on Lyft, I turn Uber off. So it saves me time. So I'm always above the 12-hour threshold. So yes, I made more than $100,000 driving Uber in DC.
Working 18 hours a day.
18 hours a day. At that point, my inner person has spoken to me that go back home. So the goal was to save. But I told myself, if I take this money back home, in Ghana, things just jump. And we have our economy, I say, is the epileptic economy. It can go up and come down. So when you take this money without investing, I knew nothing about investment. When you take this money without investing, the probability that you're going to lose this money, is very high.
Interesting.
So That is when I started doing research, finding out what I can do in Ghana.
Whilst you're working there?
Whilst I was still driving Uber.
Saving money.
And at this point, within about 5 months driving it, I had seen money. Within 6-7 months, I had seen what I could make in a year sitting in an office with a suit and tie in an air condition.
So you make more than what you would have been international?
I made so much driving Uber, and I enjoyed it.
Interesting.
I can say that right now, in my life, that is the best job that I ever did. And if the years was to go by, what I saw or thought was a disdain, I would still do it. If we repeat the years or things can go by, this is pre-COVID, because I even drove through COVID. I had COVID 3 times. So I would say again that I would love to go, if we reverse the time and take back the hands of time to 2018, I would want to drive Uber again.
But your story is interesting. You had a stroke whilst driving Uber.
Yes, because
I still had to go to work.
Yes, I had worked so much, because now I was working so much, insane, so many hours. I wanted to make so much. At that time, I did a little research. This is what made me drive a lot. I did a research and I was like, what can I come and do in Ghana? I want to go back home. And if I want to go back home, I don't want to take money home. I want to invest into something. What can I do? I started asking myself that question. 2 things. Agriculture came into mind. And then people told me about other machineries that can work for you. So I was like, okay. Went online, did a few research, had a guy in China, very honest guy. It's like, when you get these machineries, you take them to Ghana, you rent them out, you're going to be good. I said, okay. Boom. How much is the machinery? He started calling 80,000. I checked my account and said, man, I'm good. I got this money. So I was like, boom, boom, boom. And then fast forward, I was able to buy these machines, and then I bought one. So now, once that I've got one, this is where the fight started. Now I can get 2. Now I can get 3. 18 hours, 17 hours a day. Wake up at 3 a.m. By 3:30 I'm out. I come home at 9-10 p.m. every single day. 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 5 years non-stop. Not a single day off.
No day off.
No day off. The zeal and the
what was pushing you?
What was pushing me was I wanted to come home and do something. I'd always told myself I cannot keep. One thing that made me enjoy Uber, the difference between Uber and the other jobs was that I was my own boss. But there's a cliche to being your own boss. You have to be disciplined. So that discipline is what I can say that was inside me, or it was in the inside of me that really helped me. Because what will make me wake up every day and want to do 17 hours of driving ride share? But then the goal was there. You've been able to buy a 1. That means you can buy 2. That means you can buy 3. Keep going.
That. You made more money than you would have if you were hired with your degree.
Yes.
Working 18 hours, no days off, for 3 years.
5 years.
5 years.
Yes.
Interesting. And you were moved by seeing what your money could do back here in Ghana.
No, I mean, I'd always wanted to move back home. I'd always told myself that indeed this is America, the land of opportunities. You cannot take that away. I always say that God helped me, hard work helped me, Ghana helped me, and America helped me. America has its own. In Ghana, I'm not the minority, because in America I'm black, so I'm the minority. In Ghana, I'm not a minority, and I don't know where we have a minority and a majority here. But God made it possible for everything that I'm doing to come to pass. Right from my times of doing my national service all the way to everywhere that I work. When I was in Massachusetts and I was working, I bought 2 cars and sent them back home. A van to run as a bus for my dad. I did all of it because I worked so much. So personally, I've had the strength to work a lot, and I believe that in my view as a believer, I call it a grace for hard work, which I believe I have. So wherever I go, I put in the work, because in license office, when I was doing my national service, I worked so hard that I made quite some good money. How? Because people would tip you good if you do a good job. And I remember back in the days when I used to go and stay for so many hours, so much hours.
I like that. Now, one thing that interests me the most, whilst you were like working 18 hours every day,
right,
working 7 days in the week, 5 years straight, driving Uber, you never told
No.
Friends and family?
Nobody knows until
your family what exactly you were doing.
When they watch this video, that's when they're gonna know what I was really doing in America. Because the narrative is, remember, I was born and bred in Ghana. I know Ghanaians. You might be judged too quick. It is true that we respect the white collar jobs. It is true that we respect. Talk of if my dad don't know this till today, nobody knows. Really? They watch this. No, nobody knows except the only one person that mattered. Because when I tell them, they will look down on me, and I don't mind getting my hands in the dirt as long as it is not illegal, as long as I'm not going against the law and I'm not doing the wrong thing. And all I need to do is to put on my shoes, get into it, get in the dirt, and make money. I will do it. I was so willing at some point before I drove Uber to even be a garbage collector, even though I had a master's degree. If it will make me money, yes. I did not care.
Wow.
And I know that if I went in there, the principle of hard work, honesty, discipline, and respect will take me far. And I still keep these principles in my head. So when I put in the hard work, I have to be honest. There were times people left their stuff in my car, and I sent it back to them. There was times that people left their stuff that even they forgot to say. There was an Uber hub, a Uber station in DC. I'll drive there and leave it there.
Interesting.
This made a man give me $1,000 tip.
Interesting.
This is what honesty can do. One of the principles I feel like most people in this part of our country or this part of our world lack in Ghana, especially, you know, because I feel like things are hard. People feel like you have to outsmart one another. No. Being honest, being disciplined, learning how to save, being principled. These fundamental elements, when you embrace them in you and you make it a part of you, it will take you far.
I like that. So in the eyes of your family and friends, you are probably wearing a tie in an office.
Yes. Because who am I going to tell my story that I have a master's degree worth $24,600 or almost $25,000 and I'm driving Uber? You ended up in America driving Uber, a U.S. citizen in America driving Uber.
But in reality, you were making more money driving Uber than you would.
And the goal is to make more money.
Interesting.
So let me even be a bus driver. If I'm making more money, who cares?
Interesting. But your passion to come back home has been, I think, it's what drives you.
Yes.
You know, to a point where you are into real estate heavily, doing amazing, building homes for family that we would get into. But walk me through when it became so severe that I think you moved back completely.
Yes.
Where you are spending most of your time. You obviously have to go back and forth because you are still an American.
Yes.
Speak to me on that transition a bit.
Well, I would say that when I felt that I could make more money, then I started trying to tell myself that whatever you want to buy or invest in Ghana, from one, you can double it, and then you can triple it. So if this goes, then you can fetch you money. Then through that creating of source of income, you can have extra income or more income to live your dream. Because when you depend on one source of income, you're a poor man. When you live paycheck to paycheck, you are poor. Because you have to have an extra source of income. So if I'm working in America driving Uber and something is working in Ghana or people are working here for me, that is a double source of income. When one fails, I fall on the other. So the goal was to build multiple streams of income so that when I fall here, I can rise on this stage.
Interesting. So you had a truck that you bought, you had a bus that you bought, they were working for you. Let's dive into that bit of it, the businesses that you're beginning to invest into, the ROI, the challenges itself that you had to overcome to let your business be successful to the point where you have a successful real estate going on at the moment. So
I knew that when I was able to enter into the transportation sector, I was going to have challenges because before I could get it big, I started buying the bus like I told you. And we had a lot of challenges. Even when my dad gave it to people they could trust, and I was like, hey dad, I cannot maybe be sending money back home a lot. So this should work and feed you and take care of you and, send some to my mom, stuff like that. But the reality is that's not how it works here. A lot of dishonesty comes to play. Don't forget the very good men that I have. I'm surrounded by very honest and good men right now, but it takes a lot to find them. It is not only in Ghana. It is everywhere. You can be duped in China, you can be duped in America, you can be duped everywhere. It is also possible that you can find good people in America and you can find good people here everywhere. But because I was starting, I found myself on the wrong side of the edge. So I thought I was helping people, and one of the principles that I learned through that bus that I brought home was never to work with family.
Interesting.
Yes, really? I'd rather help family when they come to me, but not work with them.
Why?
So never to work with family and friends, because starting right from the fundamentals. When I brought this van back home, I gave it to a family member, and to be in your sales, he's not making the sales. And then everyday stories, because they get to the point where they get into what I call the danger zone, which is the comfort zone, that you can never fire me. And then they
feel comfortable.
Yes, they feel too comfortable, to be honest. And when people become too comfortable, they forget that they find themselves in this box that I call the comfort zone, and then they don't know that there's something outside that box.
Interesting.
So right there, I started building my mind that, man, it is going to be tough. So when I was able to get the bigger ones, now I knew how to manage them. And back then when I got that one, years before this one, there was nothing like a tracking device system. So now I could put tracking device systems on those ones that were working and are still working presently. And then I could track them. So I know your start time, your stop time. So you know, sometimes the boss taught me a lesson, that they will tell you I'm at the shop, but they are not at the shop. They're working. Because at that time, technology was not too advanced here, so you could not track it. But these ones, you could track them, because now there's even AI. Maybe I can talk to some AI. AI, where's my truck? That's how it goes.
Interesting. So you started with that transportation businesses.
Yes.
How did you end up in real estate? Even though you said you knew that was a good investment opportunity. How did you transition into that? Were you told me behind cameras that you were watching YouTube like every single day about real estate.
Yes.
Speak to me about that bit.
So doing my research, I realized that one of the things that was booming besides transportation, in my perspective, someone else might have gone into agriculture, fair enough. Someone else might have gone into maybe something different. I went into transportation, and then through the transportation, I told myself that, something that is lifelong, a vehicle is not lifelong, it has a lifespan. So then it's going to last only for a while. It can break down. Vehicles, when they are driven over time, they depreciate in value. Properties don't depreciate in value, especially if you have a good location. They appreciate. Land appreciates. Buildings appreciate. So do you want something that will depreciate over time and you lose money or lose value, or you want something that appreciates?
Interesting.
One thing I thought was food would also always appreciate, because human consumption of food
it's every day.
Right. And then remember, another factor, shelter. So I said, well, agriculture is too stressful. Why don't I go into real estate? This is when I started doing my research about real estate. And one of the most powerful people that changed my narrative to come to Ghana is Wademaya.
Interesting.
I remember in March 2021, that was the first day I saw Wademaya. And I told myself, this guy has told me that yes, you need to go back home, through one of his videos that I watched. And he went to Nigeria. I think he went to Nigeria and he interviewed one young real estate guy, and I think that real estate was called Veritasi Homes. It's owned by one guy called Nola Adetola. And then I was looking at this young guy and I was listening to him, and you could tell someone that is pushing, is making it happen. And I said, this is me in picture.
I love it.
What the Maya changed my perspective big time about coming back home to Ghana.
Interesting.
It really touched me.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, shout out to what the Maya. He played a major role when I kept watching his videos of, I am a Ghanaian, and these are Americans that are coming home and are doing good things. And he's interviewing people, Americans that are into agriculture, that are into different businesses in Ghana. I said, what am I doing here? You always want to go back home. Maybe this is the time. So for my affirmation and confirmation, what am I?
Interesting. I like that. I like that. How long have you been doing the real estate now?
So when I moved back, I could say that I started this year. Early this year, I started it, and I'm in the process of completing my first gated community. We're still ongoing, a lot of challenges, but we would never give up. If we did Uber 17 hours and still made it happen, we can still face any challenge.
I love it. I love it. You know, speaking about investment opportunities, Africa is a place. I was in Zanzibar, had opportunities to
I watched that video.
Max Maxwell.
Right, I follow him on Instagram, one of the people that also influences me a lot.
And he's bullish
Okay.
on investments in Africa and in the real estate.
Yes.
He's pouring millions of dollars in Zanzibar,
Yes.
Tanzania. When you speak to people about investing in Africa, not everybody sees the picture.
Yes.
Right? It's hard to convince people. Sometimes people think they have a better life where they are.
Right.
But you obviously are seeing the good things down here. What would you say to people who don't think Africa or Ghana is a place to put their money?
I would say that if I had a better opportunity, I would have moved back home earlier than I did. I wasted so much time. But the only reason was that building capital in this part of our world or getting capital to start something is always hard. In America, we have the credit system. But I never took no credit. I worked for everything that I had. Personally, even my cars that I bought, I worked for them. You know, this is what has maybe getting sources of income and help is what has made a lot of people think there's no hope in Ghana or in Africa. But let's put it in this perspective. Africa is like a virgin land. Everything is here. Majority of opportunities have not been tapped. It takes you to sit down, do research, be honest to yourself, put yourself in the right place, connect with the right people, and you make it. Africa has so much that has not been tapped. So when you see people going around and interviewing young people and like Maxwell and the rest, they're doing it. It's happening. So what makes you feel it cannot be done? If you watch a video of them quitting, then you don't have hope. But once they're still living and pushing, you still have hope.
Interesting.
So you look onto people like that and follow their principles and follow how they are doing it. And that's how you're going to make it. So one of the best places that any young man can start his dream is Africa. It might look very bleak and it might not sound reasonable because of so many things going on. But I'm telling you, there are people that are horrible. Let me rephrase. There are people that are, let me put it this way. There are people that are horribly struggling in America. When I drove Uber years and I went down like Southeast DC and places, people came to me asking for $1. So it's not all gloomy like that. No. So if you have hope that you can make it in America, yes, America really helped me. But it did not just help me because I went to bed to live the American, because I put in the work. Maybe you cannot do 17, 18 hours a day. I did it 5 years non-stop. And the one thing that I learned from one man here called Kennedy Japan, who's a millionaire, is he said one of the things that is also going to elevate you a lot is the power of savings. And I saved every single dime because I wore the same clothes. I had only 6 clothes that I had at that time, and I wore that for 5 years. I never bought no clothes. I said I have to make this dream a reality in Ghana. So it is possible to move to Ghana. It is possible to move, because I am not stopping in Ghana. I'm stopping across Africa. Forget about what they show on TV. There are better places in Africa. There are better places in Ghana. And we don't live on trees. We live in homes. And we live in houses and mansions. So it is possible to move to Ghana. I am an example. Maxwell is an example. Wadamaya lived in China. He moved to Ghana, and now he's all over telling you the truth about Africa. It is true that millionaires can be made in Ghana.
I like that. Now, someone would say, what have you seen that made you make that bold statement? Have you made money in Ghana yourself?
I have not made money in Ghana. I am trying to make money in Ghana. But I told myself that what can be achieved in America can be achieved in Ghana. The force behind it is your perception. The second force is your discipline. The third force is when you are ready. You know, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Are you ready? When you come back home, one of the biggest challenges you face is how people act towards work. A little lackadaisical, like I told you.
Your employees?
Yes. You have to warm them up. They are not used to the American style, where you wake up in the morning, take a shower, boom, 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 and you are in the office. You leave your phone, you don't talk on the phone, boom, boom, boom. You work your ass off. Here, the system is a little relaxed. So you might find some work, it's not everybody that are a little relaxed. You have to warm them up. So you will always have me teaching my employees that you have to put in the work. You have to put in the work. Everywhere you find yourself, you have to put in the work. Let me give you an example. If you have someone traveling across Africa showing you everywhere that is beautiful, that's a lot of work. You see the beauty, but we know the scars that are behind us. My scar is 17, 18 hours. Like you said, I had stroke. One time I woke up and my right leg, this is what I'm stepping on the pedals with in my hands. It wouldn't work. My mouth was already gone. I went and they checked my blood pressure and it was like 160 something. Because at that time I was killing myself. I toned down, but once I got better, I went back to the same 17 hours.
Interesting.
This is me. So I teach them these things and I tell them, don't be like a lackadaisical. Put in the work. Everywhere you find yourself, especially in Africa, especially in places like Ghana. I've been to Nigeria and I see how young men are putting in the work. And trust me, there are great things in this land called Africa that has not been tapped in. It's for us, the young people now, to make it happen, to show the whole world. The US is already developed. The Europe is already developed. Africa is not developed. That comes into mind. Opportunities. Just a few weeks ago, I was in Washington, D.C., where I live. So I went back home. America is also home. I was in downtown D.C. I went and met I met a guy that we were talking about opportunities in Africa. And then something struck me. My inner person still talks to me. So guess what? I saw one beautiful skyscraper and I was like, you don't find these buildings in Ghana. I've been to Nigeria, I've been to Lagos, I've been to Abuja, I've been to Delta State, I've been to Warri, I've been to Egypt, I tell myself, you find them maybe South Africa, some few, but I'm talking about Ghana, you don't find these skyscrapers. That means there's still more room for people like us to build these skyscrapers.
Exactly.
So real estate, to me, was the right choice. So besides skyscrapers, how many food crops are we exporting? There's still more hands that need to come on to help. So opportunities here are endless. So if America is the land of opportunities, Africa has endless opportunities.
Interesting. You said you've not made money by your transportation business. Did it make you any money?
I would not say it is my main source of income right now. The real estate is coming up. Building a gated community is not easy.
It's an estate.
Yes, it's a gated community, a walled community, just for family, few houses, So, like I said, multiple streams of income. If my Uber is not working again, what am I falling on? And then if I'm falling on transportation, if transportation gets weaker, what am I falling on? Always creating the space for more income. So then I entered into the real estate, and it's not been easy.
What are some of the challenges?
The human factor will be the first one. That's part of our world. Challenge that
being too laid back.
Yes, being too laid back. People trying to steal my stuff on site. It happens everywhere. I had terrible times driving Uber. I was punched driving Uber at some point. I had
What happened?
Well, there was this guy that got in my car with his girlfriend with a new baby. Policy for Uber: don't take any baby without a car seat. They did not want to get a car seat. So the guy was coming. It happened in Southeast DC. So the guy was coming, and I was still driving, and the lady was behind. So I told the lady, is he gonna get a car seat? He's like, no, we don't have a car seat. I said, if you don't have a car seat, you cannot drive. And the lady's like, oh yeah, you think we can drive? Back then we used to have what we call octopus. Octopus used to give us tablets, so we hang it behind, so that when the drivers and the riders are in the car, they'll have some, entertainment. And when they run commercials on it. So because they have a lot of adverts and commercials running on it, Octopus makes money because they're running commercials, and then you also make money the few games that people play. So I had one tablet behind for my riders. The lady snatched the tablet on the ground. So when I turned and asked her, why did you do that? And then she just spat in my face. And then whilst I was wiping the saliva from my face, the guy comes in and gives me a big punch. It's like, fuck.
Wow.
If you're not going, this is what you get paid for. I was torn between calling the police, calling Uber, and asking myself if this is worth it. All I had to do was drive forward, and I started crying. But then I put everything behind me, and I started going. So when I come here, there are challenges everywhere. One of the things here you also find is the human factor. Honesty. That's a badge we always have to carry, being honest. And you find it a little bit, not too bad, as time goes on, people learn. And I do have honest people around me right now that are really helping me push the agenda. And sooner than we thought, it will be a reality.
I love that. I love that. What do you see yourself in the real estate in the next 5 to 10 years?
If Maxwell is still going, I'm still coming. I have people that I watch. If my mentor in Nigeria, Dr. Tony Kolawale, is still going, talks to me literally like every weekend, be like, Morgan, don't give up. It's not easy, because for the iron rods, when I started, these iron rods were costing around 7,500, 7,500 per ton. Now it's about 9,500
dollars.
No, Ghana cedis.
Ghana cedis.
You know, that change or that shift, it's a lot when you are a young person moved back home trying to develop something. It's a lot of challenges. The economical challenge, like I told you, the epileptic economy keeps going up. The dollar is always going up. It's
bipolar economy.
Bipolar economy, you know, it's quite challenging. But I am built different. Like I told you, before I got into real estate, I watched over 600 videos. I was driving Uber. There was no time to read books. But anytime I drop a passenger, I will watch a video. And my videos will continue. Like sometimes you have to wait 5-10 minutes before you get a rider. That is the time to learn. So I was watching videos. I watch a lot of videos. I watch Maxwell. I watch people like COD. I watch a lot of people. I watch real estate in Rwanda, so it could give me the blueprints. So right now, when I was building my model house, when we got to the master bedroom, my engineer wanted to go one way. I said, no, I've watched people and I've watched homes. This is the way we are going. So yes, that is one of the things that I did. Yep.
I love it. You mentioned COD, you mentioned Maxwell. In the real estate sector, what was the question? It just disappeared. Anyways, in the real estate sector, there's a lot of money to be made.
Yes.
But there's been a lot of problem in terms of people getting duped, land litigation issues. That has driven a lot of people away from investing into real estate. Absolutely. Even some of our family members send money home to somebody to buy a land, do something, and they don't never see the money. So people don't have that trust that they used to have. If someone is in that mindset and have leaned back on investing in real estate, what would you say to that person?
Well, you know, like I told you, there's bad people everywhere. My dad said this to me when I was young. He said, you find madmen in every town you go. In every single town across the world, there are madmen. And there are men, so there are men that are insane and there are men that are sane. You always gonna find bad people everywhere. But remember, within that area where you found bad people, there are good people.
Interesting.
Some of us we were making so much money in America. Even though it was through sweat and hard work, we were not privileged to sit in the offices and have the suit and tie to make money. We're not privileged to be typing behind it, but we were privileged to be driving Uber to make money. So if we wanted to dupe people, we would have stayed driving, making more money than, you know what I'm saying, getting into something. We, or people like me, are here to change the narrative, to let people know that you can trust us. So I'm going to build the homes with my money, so I sell to you. But if you come in for me to help you to build, we're going on step-by-step basis. Don't bring me all the money. We build from foundation and then we go. Technology has also helped where you can call to see what is going on.
Actually monitor the property.
Monitor the property. You can mount CCTV cameras on the property. And then you be watching from where you are. So if things are going on, you can tell. Don't lose hope. Because if you lose hope, I can tell you, when I was in America, gas price was $1.75. But now, gas price is going to $4. So life is changing everywhere. If you lose hope here, you can lose hope in America. There is a lot of people in America that have lost hope. And there's a lot of people here that have lost hope. So why do you think you will not find good people here? There are a lot of them, and I'm one of them. Why do I can beat my chest and say I'm one of them? It's not a sense of pride. It's because I put myself through the discipline stage of having so much money and you investing that money in Africa. And now that I'm here that I want to make a name, why would I tarnish that image? So there's still good people here. Not only me, you can search around. If you want good people, you can come to Captain Hayford. You've been here. You know the right people. I know the right people to go to. You don't have to come invest in me. You can come and ask me, who do you think I can invest? And I'll show you the right people. And there are always bad people moving everywhere. But there are more good people than bad people.
I like that.
Like me driving Uber, 99% of the people that I picked were good people. It was just a few that were disrespectful. I would not let that 1% overshadow the 99%. No.
Interesting. I like that. I like that. Your friend told me that anytime you are in America, you call and it's like, hey, I can't wait to come back to Ghana.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yes.
What do you like the most about your country, Ghana?
This is where I was born. This is where I want to be buried when I die. America is called the land of opportunities. When you go there right now, you have the chance of working like McDonald's. Let's say you go, you're a first timer. There's a few jobs that you can get into, work in a factory. Ghana or let's say Africa, we don't have too many job opportunities. So people like me can come back home and create that from our own sweat. We are not taking no loans. We are not taking a dime from nobody. From what we made and what we've invested, we are reinvesting so we can create jobs. I have so many workers now that work for me, and be it from my office to transportation sector to real estate. Sometimes when they mount, there are more than 40 workers. So if coming home has made me employ all these people, and remember, it's a chain. Once you feed the man, you're feeding his wife and his children.
Yes.
So look at the families that you are impacting. This is what we wanted to do, and this is what we are doing.
I love it. If you have a final message to everybody watching, friends, family, diasporans in the US, UK, all over the world, what would that message be?
My message will be simple. Never give up. Regardless of whatever you go through, regardless of the pain, the only setback is you. If you tell yourself you're not going to give up, you would never give up. Listen, there's only one thing a dying man wants. A dying man, no matter how rich he is, if he's a billionaire, a trillionaire, whatever, there's only one thing that a man that is dying on his bed wants, is time. So I tell people, don't waste time. Time is valuable. It is one of the most precious assets because you can never reverse or rewind the time.
I like that.
So always make sure that you have it at the back of your mind, that you're never giving up and you're going to make it happen at the right time.
I like that. I like that. This is an amazing conversation.
That's right.
I love it. I want to come to the property.
Okay.
I want to come on the land.
Right.
You know, take a look at what you have going on. Also to show the world what you've been able to do so far. So we've had a great conversation.
Right.
Thank you so much for talking to me.
Sure.
Guys, if it's your first time here, please don't forget to like the video, share it to friends and family, comment down so that we get the engagement going. And we have a part 2 coming where I want to go see what he has going on, the property he's building here. So yeah, subscribe so when we drop it, you don't miss out. And remember, we have a tour group coming in December 26th to the 3rd of January. You're an organization, you're a group in the USA. You want to be able to, come with, a group, come to Ghana and have a great experience. You don't want to worry about the logistics. We got you covered. We have everything planned out. We have a team on ground who will take care of their transportation, the accommodation, you name it, the best events, networking, everything. We do everything for you. Make sure you have a great experience while you are here in Ghana. So reach out to us somewhere on the screen, also in the description. And where we are currently filming is a co-working space located in East Legon. Very close to American House. You're a content creator, you are a diasporan, you work remotely, you want someone to plug and play. This is the place for you. Come check it out. And yeah, without further ado, do you have any final message or is done?
Well, that was my final message. Never give up, keep pushing, don't waste time, and don't lose hope.
You said iron rods. I was curious.
Yes.
My friend told me about the boring businesses, the business nobody thinks about. Is it profitable?
It's so profitable because people never stop building. It's like at one point, I remember in 2016, I told myself I wanted to go and get tissue paper, what we call toilet roll, and bring it back. People never stop using that. And as much as people would never stop building, they would need these iron rods to build in this part of our world. So it is something that, and we will always be building. So every day iron rods will be essential. Very lucrative.
I love it. I've heard Kenny Japan speaking about this business opportunity before.
Oh, I did not. I really have not heard of him, but I know that when you want to, one of the things that if you want to get into business in Africa, one of the things that I will give you, it might not be too strong enough, maybe financially, or have sources of income that can help you do real estate or investment, but you can sell things like cement, and the cements, or we call it cement or cement, it will really, really sell. Look for a location where people are building, and there's all over the place. You go to East Legon Hills and find a shop and then start selling cement, hardware, you know, things that people are building, we would never stop building as long as we live as humans. So things that are needed for building would never stop selling.
I like that. Thank you so much for talking to me.
You're welcome.